So good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. We'll speak about everything new, what's going on with Lakeflow Jobs. My name is Anthony Podgorczak. I'm a product manager at Databricks, and I'm joined today by Saad.
Hey folks, thank you for taking the time. I know this might be early in the day for some of you, so thank you. Really appreciate it. We'll try not to put you to sleep. So both Anthony and I are part of the product team at Lakeflow in Amsterdam. And as Anthony mentioned, we'll cover Lakeflow Jobs specifically, and tell you all about it. So you're going to see this slide almost on all of the presentations today. We'll try our best to make sure that what we tell you here is accurate. But just please keep this in mind, that we are among friends here. We'll try to share as much as we can over here in this forum. So hopefully you're in the right room today, and we'll start off with fairly sort of beginner stuff, and then we'll build as we go along. And hopefully, you know what a data pipeline is. You've probably struggled with setting it up, or not. That's also fine. But you want your workflows to be reliable. You want to make sure that you can automate them, you can schedule them, and you know a little bit about orchestration, and that's why you're here. And by the end of today, or by the end of this talk, you should be able to run your own workflow. We'll take you, like I said, from zero to hero in the next 40 minutes. And we'll go a little bit deeper into what Lakeflow Jobs are, and we'll cover some of the advanced topics, but we'll also point you to other talks that are happening this week that you can learn more about. And so we'll start off with plain English before we move to code. So orchestration, basically what it translates to is you've got something, let's say you want to ingest data into your lakehouse, and there's a sequence of steps that you want to go through, clean it, transform it, and maybe publish it in a dashboard, and get a report to your CEO. And what orchestration lets you do is it lets you define that sequence of steps. It lets you specify how it gets triggered, and you also have the ability to track what happened and what didn't, and hopefully do some historical analysis on it. So TLDR automates tasks, sequences them, serializes the dependencies, and handles what's wrong with it, and hopefully lets you fix problems as you go along. So with that, we'll just get into this a little bit more. So Lakeflow is a term you'll hear a lot this conference, and you'll actually learn a lot more in the keynote in a couple of days. I think it's on Thursday, yep. Right? Yes. And I just want to take a moment to kind of just internalize this thing, because over the last year we've been running a lot of previews, and so you will hear this, and it'll become part of your language hopefully soon. And it's really a collection of our data engineering tools under one umbrella, one unified experience. It starts with ingesting data. That's this product that we call Lakeflow Connect. Then it lets you transform your data. So DLT, you might be familiar. It's a declarative way to express your pipeline. So you can define what you want as opposed to how you want to get it done. And then jobs, which is the subject of our talk today, is all about how you orchestrate it. And you might be familiar with Databricks Workflows, and so this is the next step in our evolution. So we'll cover that a little bit later. So when I was using ChatGPT to do my slides last week, no, I promise I did most of them myself. I kept getting tripped up on is it what is Lakeflow Jobs, or what are Lakeflow Jobs? So it told me that it's a proper compound noun, so is the correct verb here. So anyway, that was too early for jokes, but anyway. So Lakeflow Jobs, basically, like I said, the art is formerly known as Databricks Workflows. This is Lakeflow Jobs. It's the orchestrator. It is a native engine that we've built inside the product. And you can go from very simple things like scheduling notebooks to more advanced workflows. we give you a nice visual canvas where you can drag and drop. So it's very accessible for users across the stack. We also let you use a programmable interface, and we'll cover that today a little bit, but more talks later. There's triggers, there's a lot of logic around orchestration, around retries, backfills, alerting that's built in. And then we also let you productionize this using Git, Databricks asset bundles, if folks are familiar with that. Actually, I am giving a talk on that later today as well, so hopefully we'll see you guys there as well. And so if you've been running your Spark jobs or your pipelines using just ad hoc scripts, you're in the right place because we've got a native solution for you. And it also provides you with the launch pad to productionize your workloads. And we'll cover some of that as well. And I just want to take a quick note to mention that we go very heavy on ETL and data engineering, but the orchestrator is for the whole lakehouse. So machine learning workloads is also something that we support on the platform. And good news is you have choice. There's a number of options that you can use to orchestrate your workflows. Airflow, Azure Data Factory, Fabric Data Factory. There's a number of options that you have available to you. And the challenge that you might have is it's a separate, if you're using the orchestration outside of the product, it's another tool that you have to learn. It might not be accessible to everybody. For instance, if Airflow does require a little bit of like Pythonic effort, let's say. And so you want to kind of, like I said earlier, you want to go up the stack to be able to make this accessible. And you want native observability features built into the product. And you don't have to run anything else. You just get this out of the box free. We don't charge for the orchestrator. So that's something that's a really nice capability to have. Then if you go to the next slide, thank you. So I think there's three things here. Maybe let's just go to the animation really quickly. So I mentioned authoring. We'll cover some of that today, the visual authoring piece. But you have more complex ways to also express your DAG, the workflow that you're authoring. We provide you with insights within the product. So you'll see there's actually a talk on observability. My colleague Teresa there at the back, she has one on Thursday. So we'll share some of the details as well so you can learn about that. And 395s actually, very stable, reliable product. We have our engineers also in the room who might be paged to go fix this if we have to. But we want to make sure that if you're running your workload here, it is reliable. Then there's some stories out there. It's helpful to sort of see how people have used this, what they've learned, what they've taught us. And we really appreciate feedback. So whether it's on Reddit or direct email to us, please do let us know what your experience has been or will be if you haven't used this yet. And then let's move on. Perfect. So enough talking. I'm the guy who does the talking, but Anthony's the guy who's going to do the building. So maybe, Anthony, you can take us through this.
Yeah, awesome. So thanks, Saad. So most, or if not all, the product team at Databricks, we're all engineers by training. We all come with technical background, so we wanted to put most of the time, the real brunt of this presentation, on actually building something with you live. And this is kind of an interesting talk, because I looked into some of Saad's early notebooks when he just joined Databricks, and they're quite heavy. They really combine all of the extraction of data to the actual processing, the transformation logic, as well as the actual sort of publishing of this data into specific dashboards. So I just sort of wondered in the beginning, why'd you kind of combine everything into one?
Well, that's how I got it. So when I got in, I just got this notebook that does everything from ingest, transform, dashboard, all of that. So
okay.
Maybe we can start with that.
So I actually have the notebook with me right here. Very, very aptly named Saad's Awesome Notebook. So I noticed on all the sort of cadence of running this notebook, you ran it daily, but it seemed to be manual. Was there any reason for that?
Well, the CEO needs to see the report every day, so
fair enough.
You know.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. But what we can actually do, instead of running it every day manually, we can schedule it to run. And what this essentially does is it creates a cadence of the job. so that you set the schedule once, you never have to set it again, it'll just run. And this is super easy to do in the UI. If you just click Add Schedule in the top right, if you want to do something really simple, whether or not it's every day, every 2 days, every hour, or every week, it's really easy to do here. Or if you want to create a bit more sort of advanced scheduling, you can do it here, or if you're familiar with cron, you could also do that. However, you said this one is run daily, right?
Let's do it.
Okay, cool. So we'll just keep this really simple. We'll just create the schedule here, and in a few clicks, this notebook will run automatically every single day. So what we just did here is we created a Databricks job, and as Saw was saying, this is sort of orchestrator that runs either your notebooks or other workloads there. But I actually have a follow-up question. Why do you want to run it daily? Why specifically daily?
Well, just want to make sure, like I said, when the data is there, the job processes it and delivers a report to my CEO.
And what if the data isn't there? Then what happens? How often does that happen?
Well, it happens a lot. So
Okay.
I end up losing money sometimes because the thing runs, there's no data, or the data comes at 9. So yeah.
All right, that's actually interesting you bring that up. So in addition to these sort of periodic triggers, a schedule, you also have more data-centric triggers. And what this specifically means is that a job will only run if data is updated or if data has arrived in a specific storage location. And this is really easy to do in the UI as well. All we need to do is edit the trigger here, change it to table update. And this table update trigger, as you can see on the screen, what it does is that it monitors tables for changes in the source data, whether or not it's an update, a merge, or a deletion. And then what will happen here is that your job will only run when the data is actually ready. So in this notebook, is specifically, it watches one table. And what we need to do here is just define the table in here. And when we save this trigger, what will happen is that the notebook will only run when the data is ready to go and when the data arrives. We usually recommend this specifically if customers want to create a sort of data mesh architecture, a bit more decentralized processing. So these data triggers are super powerful. Schedules are great, periodic triggers are great, but if you care about the data being ready and ready to go for your processing, this is usually what we would recommend here. Let me go back here. Yep. So then the next part here is that the notebooks, again, they're quite large. And I know you said this is sort of how you got the notebook, but what we usually would recommend is just sort of parallelizing everything within a job itself. And there are 3 components to your notebook, I thought. There's ingesting data, bringing in data. There's the actual transformation of the data. And there's the pushing of the data. And I just had a quick question. So where do you actually want to bring in data from?
So there's a Salesforce.
Salesforce.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, and previously, if I saw in your notebook, you needed to bring it into a staging bucket and then into Databricks afterwards, right?
That is correct. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So we have something called Lakeflow Connect.
We talked about that, yeah.
Which is really, really cool. It's really useful. And what Lakeflow Connect is able to do is bring in data directly from sauce and database locations. And again, here it can be done super easy directly in the UI within a job itself. So within this...
Yeah, so something looks a little different about this UI.
Yeah, so it's actually good that you bring that up. So with Lakeflow Jobs, we're doing a lot of work around the overall UI and UX of the product. But don't worry, it's fully backwards compatible. There's no migration path. Everything will just continue to work as is, but it looks pretty cool, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty nice, yeah. So then,
and you're doing a video here, so I'm assuming this is actually capability that's possible, and it's just setting up Salesforce connector. That's just something that we didn't get done for our demo, basically. So,
yeah.
But this is possible today.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, completely possible today. So then here, again, we're just renaming the job, something quite apt for this. And configuring a Connect task here is actually really, really easy. If any of you have used the Lakeflow Connect previews, it's the exact same really easy UI point-and-click experience to configure the connectors, just all wrapped within a job. So here we just connect the Salesforce connector, bring it a cool pipeline name. This is all the same as if you were doing it directly within Lakeflow Connect. So right here, if you're unfamiliar, I'll just speak to it quickly. This is where you define where you want your event log to go. And what this will do is this will store all of the events within your ingestion pipeline. So here you just define the specific location of it, and then you define the predefined connection to your source. Here we're using a Salesforce connector. And what's happening right now is that compute is starting to explore the data in the source to present it on the screen here so that you can select what specific tables or what data you actually want to ingest. Here, we'll select all tables just because we want to bring all the data into Databricks. Select the destination. And then what's happening now is that we're just doing a bunch of internal checks to make sure that everything is all good. This is a fully managed, fully easy-to-use solution. So right now, we're just checking to make sure that everything is all good with the ingestion. Now, once it's done, you just save the task, and it's as easy as that. Now, whenever this job is run, it will ingest the specified tables from Salesforce without any other external work required on your end. So it's really, really quite cool. So now that we have all of the data into Databricks, let's say if we're going back to the notebook, you had some transformation logic, if I remember, right?
Yep.
And I just had a question on that as well. So you used a notebook for this. And I'm just sort of wondering, why a notebook for the transformation?
Well, I have a programming background, so I like
Yep.
to define how things are done. So I had to go specify every bit of detail inside the notebook.
Okay. So you say how things are done. So you had to define the what and the how, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so we actually have another product for this called Delta Live Tables, DLT pipelines. Stay tuned, you'll learn more about this within the next few days. And essentially what this does is you only need to define the what. You don't need to define how. You define the what, and then the engine decides the most efficient way of doing the processing. So it's super powerful, and this is usually what we recommend. They're super easy to do, and super efficient, and super powerful. So I thought we actually would make more sense to do this live. So we'll go over to Databricks. This is the task that we just created previously. And adding a task within jobs in the UI is, again, really easy. It's all just fully point and click. So we want to add a pipeline here to do the transformation on the data that we just ingested from Salesforce. So if we add a task, we have a bunch of different tasks where we're able to do transformations, whether it's a notebook, SQL, Python files, jars, DBT models, anything. But here, we'll just go down to pipeline. Here, we'll give it a task name. Let's say, I don't know, process regional data. We see it's a pipeline task. Here, we can select the pipeline, so you can either search something directly, define the pipeline type, or you can create a new pipeline, which is what you saw in the previous video. Here, we'll just connect the DLT pipeline that we already created, and then here, we'll simply create the task after we specify that it depends on this first ingest task. So once we create this task, what we just did is created a sequence of steps. So whenever the job is run, you will first ingest CRM data from Salesforce, and then you will process all of this data. But another thing I noticed about the notebook, it fully recomputed all of the tables every time it ran, right?
Yeah, so I'm expecting that that's going to happen here.
Yeah, so the cool thing about DLT is that it supports fully incremental transformation. And what I mean by this is that it'll only process new data that arrived. It won't do full recomputes. So that's kind of part of the reason why it's so efficient and really quite fast.
Awesome.
So it's quite cool, yeah. All right, so now we've done the ingestion. We've brought data into Databricks. We've done the transformation. We've transformed the data inside of Databricks. Now, if I remember, the third part of the notebook was it was creating visuals which you had to manually put to a dashboard, correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, so here within Jobs, within Lakeflow Jobs, we're also able to orchestrate automated dashboard refreshes. So this is quite useful as well. We cover the full spectrum of ETL within our orchestrator. And again, adding a task, adding a dashboard task is just as easy as adding any other task here. So we just click this in the UI. We can also just directly search for it here. And then we'll give it a task name. We'll just say update dash. All succeeded. And here, we just need to select the specific dashboard that we have as well. You can search for it. SQL Warehouse, everything is optional with serverless compute. You don't need to worry about any info or anything. It'll just work. So we save the task here, and there it is. So from here, what we just did is we just created a full end-to-end ETL pipeline, starting from ingesting data from Salesforce, then transforming the data using DLT pipelines, and then updating an AI BI dashboard. So within the UI, it's really as easy as that. But as Saad mentioned, we also support for the more advanced users a bit more programmatic experience with full support for CI/CD and everything as well. So I think let's actually just run the job, and then I can walk you through some of the observability features afterwards. So here a run just triggered. And we can either view the run here, or if we go back to runs, we can see specifically everything that's sort of starting. And you're able to run multiple instances at the same time. So here we can see when something is running, we can see the tasks, their status, or if we go into a specific job run, we're able to see the graph as well as the status of each of the tasks, whether or not it's currently queued or it's running, it's blocked, succeed, failed, as well as specific details, duration, how long it's spent in the queue. Or if you're a bit more sort of visual and prefer Gantt charts, then you're able to see it directly in the timeline view, which again will show you each task, its status, but in a more of a list view, which you can also see here. But this supports a little bit more filtering, a bit more granularity in the view. So the monitoring observability is quite powerful. I'll go into a little depth here, but again, I'll introduce a talk which you'll be able to see within the next few days that'll give a bit more detail here. So the example we gave here was relatively straightforward, but the possibilities with Lakeflow Jobs are much more than, we have much more advanced functionality. You can probably give a bit of a sneak peek into the advanced functionality.
Let's do it.
Cool, nice. All right, so the advanced functionality within Jobs is quite cool. If we want to get into a bit more sort of advanced control flow patterns for a bit more complex orchestration, we have something called a conditional task, which is essentially will allow you to create branching in your jobs. So you can define a specific condition that is either met and it resolves as true or false. If true, it goes in one direction. If false, another direction goes. So this is really quite useful. You can run only a subset of tasks. And this is particularly useful when you're iteratively developing jobs and you want to sort of test individual components in isolation. Or if you have to debug, you're able to fix specific tasks and only rerun that task or that subset of tasks. It saves money. You don't need to reuse all the compute for the entire job. You can run only the tasks you want. We have support for backfills. Really useful if you have data that arrives late and you need to process this data for specific date ranges in the past, as well as you're able to trigger other jobs directly from the orchestrator. Again, if you want to create a bit more distribution of your jobs, you want to create more of a data mesh, this one is quite powerful. As well as this, we also support looping over individual tasks, and we'll go into a bit more depth in that in the talk that you'll see on the top right corner, Data Triggers and Advanced Control Flow with Lakeflow Jobs. I very much recommend you guys watching it. It's a really cool presentation. So all of this, of course, comes with great observability. And if you want to learn more about observability, then I recommend going to the talk in the top right corner as well. You're able to discover your data assets, your jobs and pipelines, with a unified list between both sets of assets. You're able to search by name or by ID. You can filter by tags, by who's running the job, who owns the job or pipeline. It's really quite useful for the discoverability of all of your assets. You're able to monitor the health of your runs. You're able to see what are the top error codes, how many have succeeded, failed, or are blocked for whatever reason. And again, here you can monitor the health of your jobs and pipelines, filter by time, filter if it's a job or a pipeline, a lot of granular control here directly in the UI. You're able to use the event log to debug. You'll see exactly what task failed, when it failed, what the failure code is, what happened, all within the UI. Or if you have SQL-based tasks, you're able to see the SQL profile. So this is by query. You'll see however many bytes. So red, rows, and there's really, really granular information about each individual query in your workload. If you have any problems for whatever reason, you're able to be notified of them. We have onboard integrations to Slack, Microsoft Teams, PagerDuty, or you're able to configure generic webhooks if you prefer to kind of do things a little bit yourself. Or again, at the end of the day, of course, we have emails. Whenever you create a job, you're able to define whether or not you want to be notified on it, on if your job succeeds, fails, starts, or also if the job runs too long, or if you have streaming jobs, if you have too many bytes, or if you have too much of a backlog, you're also able to be notified of that. So we have both proactive and reactive notifications to let you know if there are problems. And of course, if you prefer a bit more queryable format, you're able to see it all with system tables. This is both health information, this is cost information, all this observability. I won't really touch on it hugely here. I'll just give a bit of a high-level view. But I really would recommend going to the talk in the top right corner, or if you have questions about this, there's someone in the back left corner that would be the person to go to on this. And this is really just the beginning. We have so much more. We're able to connect to external tools using jobs, whether or not you want to run a DBT project, or if you want to connect to Power BI. You're able to submit a Spark job on a specified cluster. You can run clean room notebooks, which is really quite useful for customers in healthcare or any other customers need to deal with really sensitive data. With clean room notebooks, you're able to run notebooks in a completely secure environment, all within Databricks. And you're also able to orchestrate and train your AI models. Everyone is building Gen AI applications these days. We all want to build agents that can do things on top of your data. With Lakeflow Jobs, you're able to directly orchestrate and train your AI models such that you can build agents on top of it using the other sides of the Databricks product. And you can deploy it all with Databricks asset bundles. With here, you're able to have full version control, deploy to specific catalogs, so dev, staging, or production. And you're able to see this both in the UI or the CLI in a fully programmatic sense. So again, if you want to learn more, Saad's talk here is actually later today at 11:30 a.m. I very much would recommend going to that one as well. So then, just sort of, wrapping it all together, I'll hand it back to Saad.
All right, perfect, thank you. Maybe let's run to the next one.
Yeah.
So as we talked about earlier, this authoring experience, we did go through the visual experience. We'll cover the Python experience in the DABS talk, as well as in the advanced Lakeflow Jobs talk. Insights around monitoring. Teresa, as Anthony mentioned, will be covering that in more detail on Thursday. And then, like I said earlier, 395, so you don't have to worry about running the thing. We run it for you. And just at the end, we provide the native orchestrator for your lakehouse. If you have these requirements and you want to sort of not run it yourself, please come talk to us, use it. It's part of the tool set that we provide within the workspace. And obviously, it's cloud provider agnostic, so you don't have to worry about where it runs. We also do provide serverless capability, which means that you don't have to provision compute. We do it for you. There's a talk on serverless compute as well. We'll talk about that as well later. I think it's later this week. Mm-hmm. And then maybe Anthony, if you go to the next one. Let's cover some of the talks. So DABS, that's 11:30 today. Data triggers, this is going to be the advanced topic for orchestration. Highly recommend you go to that one. Future data engineering, we talk a lot more about what Lakeflow is, just overall from an authoring to monitoring experience. Then we have DLT, which we may rename the name of that product, but you'll find out more at the keynote. Lakeflow Connect, Anthony mentioned that as well, and he showed that in the talk, in the demo earlier. Observability, we've mentioned a few times. And then we've really done a lot to improve the authoring experience for declarative pipelines. That's a highly recommended talk on Wednesday that our peers are giving. Then if you use Airflow and you want to try out jobs and see what does that look like, how does it compare, that's another talk that we recommend Thursday at 1:40. And then finally, I'd mentioned earlier about serverless and how that can be beneficial for you, both from a cost perspective or from a performance perspective. That's the one at the bottom that you can attend. And obviously, this is very important. The keynote is going to be awesome. I've seen it, and it's, well, we've built it as well, but it's really, really good. So really worth going to that one on Thursday in the morning. And I think with that, oh yeah, trainings. So please go learn about the product, use it. And we have, I think, obviously the on-site trainings as well, but you can do a self-paced course on this one. And then if we move on, survey, I know everybody's gonna ask you to do this. It really helps us to modulate the talks and give feedback to the presenters as well as the conference organizers. Thank you for your time. And then with that, we will hand it over for some questions.